Alrighty. I like the Christmas lights on this building here. I'd like to put permanent lights on my house. Not that I'm a boogan that leaves Christmas lights up all year because I'm just too lazy to take them down. Actually, I'm too lazy to put them up. Well, not really lazy to put them up. I just don't like the up part of putting them up. I don't like heights. It's not that I don't like heights, I just don't like falling from them. One year we were doing a story about I had to go out to suburban Kansas City somewhere, and it was a sad story. It was like the day after Thanksgiving, and a man was putting Christmas lights up on his house and fell off a ladder, and you know had to be taken away in an ambulance. We later found out that he passed away from it. And I'm like, can you imagine what that would be like for your kids to every year think of the Christmas season as that year of the horrible accident that took daddy away, or grandpa away, or whatever. Alright, can't we do this? I don't know what they're doing with this is weirdness. This cone maze we're going through. Not corn maze, cone maze. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading and watching videos, and YouTube is so great. There's so many good videos out there you could watch for just having to sit through an ad or two. A lot of good, well-made little documentaries on Roman Empire and the Byzantines, and the way I understand it, the Byzantines never referred to themselves as the Byzantines. They were just the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Roman Empire, even though they were no longer, for the big chunk of their history, Rome was no longer a part of their empire. As plagues, pandemics. They tried to reconquer the West, but then the big pandemic happened and it kind of killed the effort. That, coupled with an unrealistic emperor who thought, well, I've lost half the population of my empire, so I better tax the other half just twice as much. Because, we got to reconquer the West. Which, ironically, that was called I was just watching stuff on it. It was called the Gothic Wars. No, that does not mean a bunch of girls dressed in black were walking around fighting each other. The Goths were a Germanic tribe who pretty much conquered the western part of the Roman Empire. And when the eastern part of the Roman Empire wanted all that territory back, they had to fight the Goths for it. And the Gothic peoples who were set up a kingdom in Italy were called the Ostrogoths, or if you know your German, Ost means east. The Eastern Goths, the Visigoths, I don't know what the modern equivalent is, if it's the same, but Visa means west. Anyway, so you had this emperor in the eastern part of the empire wanted to conquer the western part of the empire back, thinking that he would get all these rich provinces back into his fold and his empire would be very rich and wealthy. And then this plague came along, killed half the population of his empire. And when he went to go capture the western part, all that ended up happening was mass depopulation. People left the cities, spread out into the countryside. Beginning of the Dark Ages. That was the actual beginning in the 500s. and the continual um, sieges that his city that he wanted to capture, which was Rome, to bring Rome back into the Roman Empire, impoverished the city so much that by the time he was done, the people of Rome said, "We wish these Romans would get out of here. All they're bringing us is poverty, starvation, and high taxes." 'Cause, at the time, people really could care less who was at the top. It was all the same to them. Just like today, It doesn't matter who's really at the top. If your stomach is empty or if your stomach is full, that's all you really care. If your kids have a future, if you have leisure time, or if you have just the basic necessities, yeah, I would yell that that person is an idiot, but he's not. This is ridiculous. I mean, these cones get rearranged daily, and it gets really confusing. Am I still streaming? Yes. I was talking to Vanessa, and I said, "Yeah, I'm happy to see that you have a bunch of people around you tonight at the Quick Trip, because they're remodeling the whole store and amazingly keeping the store open, even though it's half under construction, big construction zone." And I said, "Well, I'm happy to see you got people." She said, "Well, they're not my people, but there are people." I said, "Yeah, well, I've been here on nights when you're the only one and the vagrants outnumber you. My earlier rant about vagrants and vagrancy, it's a specific definition that I'm after, and it's not that I dislike homeless or houseless people, but there are definite categories. There's homeless, houseless, and vagrancy. Homelessness is you're in an unstable housing situation and you want desperately to get back into a stable housing situation. Houselessness is that by choice you prefer to live without walls and a roof. There's a lot of people like that. Not necessarily are houseless people necessarily poor or indigent. There's a lot of houseless people who are well off, actually. It's just their choice. But vagrancy, I was thinking about that. That's an interesting deal, vagrancy. Because a lot of vagrants are not homeless or houseless. Believe it or not. If you ever went up to people who do vagrant things, and there are specific things to do to make you into that category. Most of those things are not very productive, like aggressive panhandling, loitering in places you're not welcome, vandalizing, trashing places around you, leaving trash behind, violent behavior. And I just kind of dawned on me, a lot of people who are vagrants are not homeless or houseless. But then, a lot of vagrants are. White car next to a red pickup truck. But the thing that a lot of vagrants do have in common is usually a mental illness coupled with, or usually because of, substance abuse. I've known homeless people and I've known houseless people I have met, but I can't say that I've really known many vagrants. There was a guy that used to come to YJ's all the time. His name was Chris. And he would be what you might consider a vagrant because he was quite the nuisance. But I feel kind of bad in saying that because his problem really was mental illness. And I'm not sure that his mental illness was brought on by substance abuse. I think he just had mental illness. There was another homeless slash houseless guy. I don't know if he was homeless or houseless. He went by the name of Billy. He was an old man, and he liked to go and preach Bible verses to people all the time. But he was a very nice old man, and people did not mind, even though he not necessarily all there mentally, we don't think. And he used to come around, and he wanted to make everywhere he went, he didn't ask for money. He wanted to do something in order to get YJ's and pick up cigarette butts to the owner of YJ's, and the owner of YJ's would give him some change. And he was actually road closed. I wonder what this is all about here. More streetcar stuff. I think it's just closed. I don't think you can go around it here. And he was actually very well thought of in the community. Now let's talk about some of the negative vagrancy that I was just talking about. Some examples of that. Well, let's just say when I go to the convenience store to get my snacks and get gas or whatever, and you go to the bathroom, you use the bathroom, and then somebody comes in there and starts kicking the crap out of everything in the bathroom. That's a good example right there. Or you go into the bathroom and you find that there's needles in the bathroom that somebody's been shooting up in your stall. That's always pleasant to find. Or I don't know what's going on here. Can I go straight? Can I go left? I think I can go left. I'm not so sure I can go straight. This is a mess, people. This isn't all streetcar related. The convenience store that I like to go to, I don't understand why they're doing this, but they have like the little airplane sampler bottles of liquor. Like, I think tequila mostly, or vodka or something. I don't know my liquor. But they got little plastic sampler bottles. And you go in the bathroom and you find that the sampler bottles have been taken into the bathroom and drunk. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And they got away with it apparently. But what perplexes me is that the convenience store keeps all the other liquor under lock and key, but not those little bottles. Maybe they're making an offering to the vagrant gods. I don't know. It seems crazy to me. The white car they were next to me is the Camaro. Copy. Okay. I 101. 310. Victor Frank 4, David 8, Henry, Missouri. 50. I should snarf on one of my expensive protein candy bars here. Oh, yeah, that reminds me of that stupid thing.
That one. That's the 102.
Robert Union, Henry Lincoln, first name Randy, Robert Adams, Nora, David Young, white male, Edward, 11/6/96, November 6th, 1996, that's from a passport. Boy.
So what's your...
This is not December. This is spring. I mean, car thermometer says it's 68 degrees outside. 1 a.m. 68. I'm not complaining, but I am sweating. Partly because of my cold, too, but the birds are chirping. It's spring.
Boy, Sam, Paul, boy, 672. Boy, Sam, Paul, boy, 672. Chosen what this time?
And I see, according to the National Weather Service, a moderate chance of severe weather in Iowa. That's pretty far north for severe weather to be happening in the winter time. Not officially winter yet, but close enough. Almost. Solstice is just a couple days away.
Also a Gale mag and another magazine for a German make. I don't know what it is. One for Hamilton. One for 6, one male, same.
Are you on Mills Chain at 104? That number, negative 2920 for Bell, Illinois.
Copy. None of these guys have a maroon hoodie. I'm not sure this is the same vehicle. They're claiming they came from far up north.
Careful.
Troy, check those vehicles. Everything looks good.
Careful.
She was returning to the car right out there. Curve or before the curve? It was after the curve. It's probably going to be 304. Yeah.
Ready, 8550, 6
Missouri, Illinois.
Okay.
Nora 116-245-004. Nora 116-245-004. Copy. Did you actually get the call?
Does that party show Blue Springs address?
Kansas City.
Okay, thank you. Alright, I'm gonna go south on 44 down, Chris.
Okay.
Bus in the church.
It's secured. Is there a hall key that's going to be responding?
The radio or what we go.
Kevin.
15652 Alright, let's call.
Copy.
Can I have you check the party for me? Last name phonetically: Tom, Robert, Ocean, Lincoln, Edward. First is Jesse, Jesse, unknown middle. He's a white male, 7/19 of 99, 7/19/1999. Black gates open.
I'm just putting out an email about that. It's because of the wind. It has a tendency to break. It's going to be open for a couple nights, and they want extra patrol.
30 Union.
Sorry.
Temperature is negative on our 2015 Chevy 12/21 T Glover out of 7 Juniper. 7515 Juniper.
Hmm.
46 triple license.
Fact that's referencing from a Giselle with the same date of birth. I don't know who's who.
Copy. Can you bring what you have to the jail?
42.
They have a tattoo on his right.
10-3 looks like music notes or something like that.
Copy. His name is Giselle 2L Guzman.
Temperature is negative on 2021 Nissan March of 22 to Enterprise.
Cruising the boulevard.
382.
I'm not looking for anything. Don't get the wrong idea.
And a possible second juvenile might be entered as a missing or runaway as well. Let me know when you're ready.
Is it Anthony Morgan?
The weather is warm enough. There are more people out.
81705. 81705.
It says 67 degrees on the car thermometer.
That's empty, that's Sheila.
The wind is blowing, but I haven't seen anything that's really super duper or high winds.
Air 143.
Same.
Burp. Excuse me.
Peterson Manning, 57 Manning. Car says police is up the street behind her. Heard several shots, and that's only a call we received at 113.
Copy.
Oops. Original. I was hoping for teriyaki.
Number 4364 Northwest North Shore Drive on a 6, A3.
So far, excuse me when I get choked up. So far, everything is pretty calm on this warm and windy Thursday morning. I guess it is Thursday morning. Is it? No, it's Wednesday morning. What am I talking about?
Yeah, no shots fired. I'm on Laurel.
Entry.
I lose track of time, especially working these overnights, and past 2 days I've been homesick.
308. We're back. Return quarters. Have a good night. .44 is in the area of the South River.
It has to be somewhere maybe northeast or
Fine.
16.
man, the original jerky is kind of flavorless.
Engine 1 en route at 116. You said also I had to send a patrol car.
Medic 1142, Quint 42, Battalion 1103, 9209, West 89th Street.
Affirmative 3 on 2. route.
With 41.
Okay, see.
Go for 636.
Attack 1103, patients now conscious, even
Can you give me the serial for that firearm one more time?
Attack 1103, sir.
Boy, Sam, Paul, Boy, 672. Boy, Sam, Paul, Boy, 672. Yeah, that's on the map. If you're still in possession of it, would you be able to either bring it down to tickets or close some discard? Page 102. I'm in a meeting. Outside of the house.
Yes, the trajectory gets all screwy inside, but it looks like the entry is going to be through the south side.
Okay. 236. Right behind that house. I'm gonna stop a little bit before there. Get my right foot out. Walk on foot. I'm right behind you.
Alexa Dell. Edward. Also showing up Melanie Long. Edward. What's up, team?
Arg. This phone. Arg.
30 minus 77
117.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's rain, but something's splattering my windshield. I think it's moisture being blown up by the high winds. I did air quotes there.
Female party left.
High winds.
Female party said everything was 10-3. I just recently closed an argument. Lieutenant.
Ruh-roh. People are arguing. Fine. Better go get it. We need to go to the scene of the shouting.
I think 43 seconds.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I think 43 is back there.
Is that where the door is, where the projectiles went through?
Well, one good thing about this wind, though, it's sort of blown the stinky away. Kansas City's been stinking a lot lately. I don't know if people notice that. This town has not been smelling too good the past few years. It's like a combination of sewer smell and gasoline. That's a great advertisement for the tourism board. Come to Kansas City and smell our sewer smell, gasoline aroma. Parfum de la Puke. Alrighty, I'm gonna cruise just a little while longer, and then I'm gonna hang out somewhere. Usually when I hang out somewhere, it's Westport. Although there's nothing going on in Westport tonight, so I don't know what I'm gonna see there. I don't like hanging out on the boulevard because I don't like the friendly women there. They're not necessarily so nice when you meet them in person. Exit only. We want to go west. Go west, young man. Into UKC. Well, if we do have high winds and we get an abandoned house that catches on fire, it might set off a fire that will spread to several abandoned houses. Or sometimes, unfortunately, there's an abandoned house next to an occupied house. So if people are choosing to end a problem in their neighborhood, a blight problem with a Zippo, please don't do that tonight. You might actually burn a family out of their house. Or worse. But a lot of the abandoned houses that have been catching fire lately have been brought on by vagrants. Another example of vagrancy. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a fire, and I saw it by driving by it. I was like, whoa, there's a big fire over there, so I went to go check it out. Got some video of it. And it was some woods that were set on fire. And the firefighters weren't too eager to put it out. So when I went to go ask them if this was like some sort of deliberate burn or something, like they were trying to clear out some woods or something, and he said, oh no, there's this vagrant over here. And every time we try and put out the fire, he starts threatening us, and he's carrying around an axe and waving it at us. Ah, there's a good example of vagrancy right there.
Okay.
So, you know, people may accuse me of being anti-homeless, which is not the case. I just don't like vagrants. And by giving these examples of vagrancy, I can kind of illustrate what I mean. The activities of vagrancy. And it occurred to me earlier tonight that many vagrants are not homeless or houseless. You say, well, that kind of doesn't make sense. It doesn't meet the definition of vagrancy. Well, it does actually, because vagrancy is an activity that has been associated with homelessness and houselessness, but it's not necessarily a result of being homeless or houseless. Many homeless and houseless people, most homeless and houseless people are decent people who are just trying to make it. Especially, you know, when you're talking about houseless people, because those are people who deliberately don't want to, they by choice don't want to live in an enclosed space, per se. Homeless people are people who are in an unstable housing situation, usually brought on by unstable job situation or health problems. His name was Jose. He passed away, unfortunately. And he was fighting homelessness. I mean, he was really fighting it. And the homelessness brought on depression. Depression brought on other health problems. He definitely was. He was a wonderful person, and I really miss him. And he was made homeless by a health condition. He got kidney cancer. He had to have one of his kidneys removed. Well, you know, that's not cheap. He sold everything he had, and he knew that he was going to end up homeless because of it. And he made provisions. He did the best he could to get ready for it. And when he went straight to the shelter, and they were the ones who pointed him out to us, that this guy does not fit in with the regular population that comes through this place.
We'll just be up for it. Yeah, I can forward those up the Broadway right and try to keep an eye out for her there. When you see her, make sure you guys.
I got another friend who's been fighting depression and mental problems for years. And essentially it's disabled him to the point that he's been semi-homeless and homeless. Not by his choice. And for a while there he was houseless because somebody let him stay in an RV on their property, which would fit my definition of being houseless. He doesn't really have a roof over his head. And he did that until they wanted to get rid of the RV, and he understood, and he moved on. He found a friend who took him in, and so he kind of fit the definition of homeless and houseless.
1300 Cherry Street in Jackson County, attention on an elevator rescue 83.
Front row.
Car 102, offer truck 3 rescue 1. 1300 Cherry Street, Jackson County, attention on an elevator rescue 83.
Elevator rescue in the Jackson County Jail. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
I'll be on 1913 Southeast Speed. Apparently they were seen on through this driveway as well. Copy.
You know what? I haven't been in the West Bottoms in a while. I know, I was talking about I was going to go hang out somewhere, but
267, Marietta Frank, 267, Marietta Frank.
you know, the thing is when I'm yakety yakking, mainly just to keep myself awake on this live stream thing, I'm not listening to my scanner and I'm not hearing a lot of things. I wonder if my primary is working yet. Yeah, I can turn it on, I guess. Whoop. I call it my primary because it's a real radio scanner that I bought. These other two scanners that you hear are the cell phone scanners, which I didn't buy. And somebody will say, well, you can't put that on a live stream, that's copyright material. I'm like, wrong. You cannot copyright what isn't yours.
This gun needs to be returned to.
They're rebroadcasting stuff that taxpayers have paid for, which is the police and fire and all the other services. I don't know of any service that they can really copyright, other than the service of rebroadcasting it, maybe, which they try and figure out how to make people pay for. A matter of fact, the argument can be made that this stuff is all public record, and there's a lot of police agencies that are scrambling their signals so that nobody can hear them but anybody that's got the descramblers. And you would think that me being in the media, I would be completely against that. I'm not completely against that. I just think that they need to figure out a way to, in real time if possible, let people know what they're up to. Like, you know, if there's a homicide scene or something like that. Because it's very important that, you know, police operate in the open where the public can see what they're doing. But the reason I don't disagree with them scrambling their signals is because oftentimes they'll get on the radio and they'll say, yeah, we got this witness over here. They would like to talk to you. Here's their phone number. And I'm like, ooh, you know you're broadcasting that on an open channel, don't you? Or I've heard them give out people's social security numbers and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, that should be moved to either use a cell phone or put it on a scrambled channel or something. But what I'd love to see them do is come up with something like Pulse Point for police. Or even put a lot of their stuff, because, you know, they deliberately are shootings, homicides, whatever. And you'll hear this one call come out on the KCMO fire department. It'll say, go to such and such address on a shooting, stage for police. You hear that only once, and then, strangely, you never hear it again. And if you miss that first call or the address, you're screwed. Then, you know, the only other way you find out about it is if the police public information officer puts out a press release saying, hey, I'm at the scene of a shooting, come on out and I'll talk to you.
When you transfer to jail.
824, you have the contact? 606,
Flags left, femur fracture, requesting to go to St. Louis Plaza, 137.
Other than having I believe, a fever for the past 3 days, which broke midnight yesterday, I feel really pretty good. You know, I'm not having super stuffy nose and drippy and yucky, and I'm a little tired from not getting enough sleep last night, because after 3 days of solid sleeping and breaking the fever that I had, which I believe that's what it was, last night I couldn't get back to sleep. So hopefully the 3 days of sleep I had before that are enough. Although I know I'm going to be pretty sleepy by 3 or 4 a.m. Do I want to go that way, or do I want to go?
331-330.
There's a coffee house up here that's called Blip Roasters, and they are a roastery. I don't know where they're buying their beans from, but this building looks like it's about to fall down. That's not good.
Line to 2525 Glen Hendron Drive, ER bed 2 on a hospital transfer on a complex left femur fracture. Request to go to St. Luke's on the Plaza.
Complex left femur. Ooh, that sounds awful. I try to avoid what I'm calling collection plate coffee houses. There's this new trend among holy rollers, evangelical Christians, to use church money to invest in business, which then they go ahead and claim that even though it's a profit-taking business, that they can't be taxed on it because it's a part of a church. I object. There are a lot of businesses out there paying their taxes. Don't claim that your for-profit enterprise is a part of a church. Churches have no business being in business. Calling some of these coffee houses collection plate coffee houses because they're using the church collection plate, usually from some megachurch somewhere, to found this business where they are taking profits, selling coffee, and putting the other honest coffee houses out of business, because the mega churches turned mega coffee houses are now able to operate without that added burden that other places have to pay for. And I think, hey, if you're a church, be a church. If you're a business, be a business. But if you claim to be a church and you want to be a business, then tax the church. And if you get up on the pulpit and you start preaching politics, you're no longer a church. You're a political organization and should be treated as such. I don't think I've ever seen a train going across this road here. There's a very interesting bar right over here. It looks like they're still open. This is the state line between Kansas and Missouri. I mean, it's got this interesting antique place here. Oh, train just stopped, and they stopped suddenly. Wow, that was quick. Doesn't look like this bar is open. It's 9th and State is what the name of it. 1717 9th Street. Oh boy, this may take a while. The train's going back and forth.
Recover information on where they were located and at what time.
Oh, they got a leg lamp in the window. Like 2 leg lamps. And a sled. Like Rosebud. Someday I may have to come check this place out over here. It used to be called Last Chance Saloon because this is the state line. Last chance to get alcohol before you cross over into Kansas. Kansas used to be at one time I think Kansas was a dry state, and the only way you could get alcohol in Kansas in a bar was you had to be a member of a club. And then like beer was like a lower percentage beer, like what, 3.2 or whatever they call it. Oh, I know who this is. This is the world's largest scale model train. Locatrol, I believe is what they call that. Essentially, it's a radio-controlled train. And essentially, a guy carries a belt pack, a big belt pack, and walks around and can control the train remotely. so that he can do the switching operation. Just because I can see the blinking light. They always have a blinking yellow light on the top.
Jesus Lopez out of Kansas City.
And here comes the locomotive with the blinking yellow lights. Let's see if there's anybody in the cab. Oh, you can't. Oh yeah, there he is. He's on the front of the train, I think. I wonder if that's Clark. Step out and say hi to him if it is. I used to know this engineer used to hang out at YJ's. His name was Clark. Very cranky old guy. Not that old, really. Oh, he's waving me on. How's it going? Nope, not Clark, but that's he has the big belt pack on his, so it's a low control.
Good.
He didn't say anything to me. Not very friendly. He was kind of well, I probably wouldn't be friendly either. I'd probably think that I'm some weirdo, a vagrant. But he also is probably pretty busy and concentrating on not killing anybody with that big, oversized model train he's running around. That could be kind of a cool job, except, and that, well, the thing that would be cool about that job, a lot of train jobs aren't so cool because of their shifts are very weird, and you're away from home a lot. So that kind of job, you're probably not away from home a lot. But also, the guy that I knew who did that low control stuff was very well reimbursed. He was very well paid.
Negative 157, Paul Edward Tom, 10/2022, 2015, EMC Media, Vanessa Steele.
But that's a lot of responsibility, and you have to know your stuff. You know, running trains around like that is not easy. I wonder what would happen if your batteries went dead. And I guess they probably have more batteries charging in the cab, but I wonder how long those batteries last. There's about 1 million questions I'd like to ask that guy just because I'm fascinated.
One prior 2020 for Steve from Kansas City.
I should have asked Clark when I knew him. You know, since bed tonight. I missed the place. But since YJ's shut down, I haven't seen Clark at all. There used to be a lot of friendly women on 9th Street, but I heard it described as, and kind of saw it, but if you wanted to be friendly with those women, you really had to be very, very, very desperate. And that's a sad thing to say, but it's probably true. Because, oh wow, what have they done to this place? What happened? Did I pass the Golden Ox and didn't see it? I have to come back by here sometime. They're building a lot of this stuff. Oh, that's hilarious. Maybe not so funny. is somebody, I think, jumped in a police officer's car.
That's 157. That 147.
I'm about giving up on trying to keep this thing on. I can't keep up with it. I just have to check it. I need to check the pulse point, see what's going on.
Okay, 148.
Well, I didn't hear that call. Traffic collision. We don't think it's serious.
We're out from the Liberty area.
And that's kind of funny because I was just there too.
Kansas City on PS dispatch.
42 clear.
Right.
42 clear.
Do you have any available units in the area of
262.
front and 435 at the Flying J? I have a deputy, 2 at gunpoint. They were occupying a stolen auto.
Ooh, deputy has somebody at gunpoint. All right.
Go ahead. What was the name of the subject number?
And that sounds like our accident too. Somebody at gunpoint. They need backup because there's a stolen auto involved. So apparently he pulled his gun out when he realized the car was stolen.
Last name Spencer. Standing by for the first name, I don't remember.
And it's a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, sure. You're sorry. Check it.
Probably Flying J. Well, I would say that's probably, I was going to say that's probably Clay County, but no, that would be Jackson County. And I don't know why they'd be out of Flying J.
Copy the 149.
Here's the old stockyards.
0273.
I do not see the Golden Ox. Oh yeah, there's Golden Ox. But where's the old iconic Golden Ox sign? It used to be in this parking lot. This was a parking lot, and I believe they have taken it down. They not have any respect for history.
Front and 435 at the Flying J. I have a deputy, 2 at gunpoint. They were occupying a stolen auto.
Just information, the RP just called back and requested a phone call from you.
Okay, copy.
147. 310 323. 323.
Negative, I just received you on the busy quicker than my other deputy.
And then you heard the second call on that. The second call is a repeat. It's not a repeat. These cell phone scanners are delayed. And I know that Jackson County, Kansas City area one is delayed by about 2 minutes. And usually Johnson County is delayed by about 6 minutes. And my friend from Topeka who listens to Topeka Scanner says that the Topeka one is delayed about 30 minutes, which I don't know if that's true. That seems ridiculous. If you really want to watch trains in Kansas City, come to this spot.
Copy, 1509 Piccadilly.
Call 5100 Fox Ridge, number 1321, 1321 RP, so we have the seizure.
10-4.
The RP is very upset. It's a 1-year-old. Yeah, we're going for this.
How long has it been?
Engine 21, Medic 1141, 5100, Fox Ridge Drive, apartment
in like 20 to 30 minutes since I sent the first page. We got like 2 or 3 cents in. I would have tried to page another supervisor.
I heard that right. Sounds like a 1-year-old is having seizures.
My program.
Copy.
Hobo is an act of vagrancy. I mean, after all, you are. Most hobos, I don't believe, do any harm. As in, they don't damage property. But I guess technically you could say that since trespassing is a form of vagrancy, then that's annoying. They're whoever you are. Tones always sound so dramatic, and then they'll come on. Fire department for a other. My wife was insisting that I need to get these Hoka shoes, and so she bought some for me. She actually ordered them online, and I think she ordered them back in October, and it had been on back order, so she lost her patience and canceled the order. And then she realized Brown's Shoe Fit companies sell them. There's somebody sleeping under the bridge here. I wouldn't want to. Wet, nasty, very unsafe. It's like a murder bridge there. But she said, oh, if you get these Hoka shoes, it's like walking on a cloud. And I do notice a difference, and I know how they supposedly work and why they're designed the way they are. But anyway, it's supposed to be like these 2 French runners who came up with them, and they're shoes that are made in Vietnam. And they say, well, we went to the Brown Shoe Fit Company in Lawrence and finally found a pair. And she's like, well, why can't we get them online? And they said, well, because the factory is shut down, and that's why we can't get them. We are only selling them until we sell out. We have a very limited supply. Somehow I managed to find a pair that fits me. And they're supposed to be these really expensive but very good orthopedic kind of shoes, and I don't know, I'm still breaking them in. My toes are still sore. But I do notice a difference when you walk on them, and they're supposed to help your back, and because they're designed to force you to do heel to toe, which, you know, I had learned that's the way you were supposed to run when I was in track. Yeah, my fat ass used to be in track a long time ago. And she was calling them hookah, and I looked at the name, and it's H-O-K-A, and I said, where do you get hookah out of that? Hookah is H-O-O-K. So when we went to Brown Shoe Fit Company, she said, do you have hookah shoes? And what? You mean Hoka? Like, that's what I thought it was. It's Hoka. And I got the ones that don't have the big, ugly, nasty Hoka written all over the side of the shoe. I got the ones you can't even tell what they are. They're just plain Jane brown looking shoes, but they are bonus for me. They're comfortable, and they are Gore-Tex. And when we bought them, I was like, wow, the price of these shoes, I thought you said they were expensive. For Gore-Tex shoes, they're about the same as everybody else's Gore-Tex shoes. Matter of fact, we spent more money on Merrell's, which is kind of an off-brand. But the court is still out on whether these are the miracle shoes that my wife makes them out to be. But I do appreciate getting a new pair of shoes, so I'm not bitching or kvetching or anything like that. I'm just saying. Thank God somebody's looking out for me. There's the iconic Southwest Boulevard liquor sign. Here's the iconic empty, used to be a car dealership. Now it's, I don't know, it was a, they were trying to make it into like a Containerville sort of like restaurant area where you ate out of food trucks. I have not gotten into the hipster food truck craze. Sorry. Most food trucks, like a friend of mine, he nicknamed them roach coaches. And I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say that I'm not romanticizing the idea of eating out of a food truck. Food trucks to me are kind of like a necessity, you know, like the way the old diners used to be. Actually, they kind of evolved from the old school diners, which was essentially a wagon that would park outside of a place like a major factory where people had very limited time to eat, and you just kind of shuffle in, give your money, they'd serve you one thing. That's how the Philadelphia sandwich came into being. They'd serve you one thing, you eat it really quick, and you go out to the other side, you know. And to me, food trucks are kind of like, well, I park next to a place that has a lot of people that are working and they don't have much time for lunch. They could go outside the door and eat something and go back in.
20840.
But people have turned the food truck into a dining experience, and this is what has really turned me off of food trucks. A lot of them are too cheap to invest in their food trucks. And if they're not investing in the infrastructure of their restaurant, that does not instill confidence in me to want to eat at that restaurant. Now, what I'm speaking about specifically, and what destroys the ambience of most food trucks, is their generators. And a lot of these food trucks will buy the cheapest generator they could find, which is also the loudest, stinkiest thing. So you go and you're gonna sit, dine by this food truck with this thing going the whole time you're there. You can't even carry on a conversation. Not to mention the noise that causes for people in the surrounding area. And Kansas City thought it was so great that they created an area in the Crossroads Arts District on First Friday nights. There was nothing but food trucks. And every one of them had generators so loud. I mean, I've been to airports that were quieter.
Okay, thanks.
And, you know, on top of the generators, they got all these other trucks that are blaring music on top of the generators. And everybody and their brother had to crowd around them. What's going on here? Oh, a tree fell down or something. Dead tree.
020 East US 40. Shot man down 17020 East US 40. Driving 10 to 46 District 2 at 202.
And food truck ghetto they created. And it really became like a ghetto because when somebody was murdered at a shooting, when somebody got angry and couldn't contain their anger and had easy access to deadly weaponry, decided to shoot into a crowd and kill an innocent girl. Guess where it happened? Yep, that's right, food trucks.
Over shop.
The food truck ghetto.
2 hours.
41, get back. 10-4, 10-12. 611. What's your vehicle number? 317.
I don't necessarily particularly mind food trucks. I just say that, you know, if you operate something like that, there's this great little invention called a quiet generator. It costs a little more than a regular generator, but it does so much for the ambience.
1720, press 17020, Woody Highway.
322 responding 17020 East 40 Highway at Sarpinos. Report to be a female slumped over the wheel in a dark SUV.
Oops.
ALS transfer, Battalion 1103, 1230.
Hey, you're calling on a man down.
Avenue, apartment,
17020 East 40. Female that's slumped over in a dark colored SUV that's right by the front doors. We do have PD around at 204.
Huh. Let's listen to that one. That one's, it sounds like that one is Independence, maybe? Yeah, well, that'll be the last time you hear about that, because I think Independence is one of those places. But, I don't know, that might be Lee Scummit or Raytown.
Out of Independence, Missouri.
Oops.
Expiration 8/12/21.
Alright. Lumped at Sarpinos.
229, respond to back 219 at 1004 Wilshire Boulevard, Wapiti on an intrusion alarm. Responsible did not answer.
Oh, that's KCK. Intercity transfer, inter-facility transfer.
Headwind.
That's shuttling a person from one hospital to another.
And route back. Conduit support, low by 01 north of the river.
Type 206.
Now, a lot of times,
32.
a slumped person at a wheel of a car is either a medical problem or a drinking problem. But every so often you listen to them, it could be that they were unnatural causes that caused them to slump at the wheel and they just ended up in that spot. Wish I caught the address of that Independence or wherever it slumped at the wheel. Afraid if it becomes a police matter, it'll be the last I ever hear of it until 24 hours from now if it's Independence, and they'll manage to put out a press release. I wish I was exaggerating on that, but actually I kept hearing talk of somebody who had a head injury, like shot in the head or whatever. And it turns out I was actually hearing what I thought I was hearing. As my boss called me up and said, "Hey, that thing you heard you thought was Independence, turned out it was Independence, and we got the press release a day later that somebody was shot in the head. It was a homicide."
2019 Ford.
There's a Sarpinos, and there's a vehicle out in front of it. Kind of SUV-ish looking. My wife has gotten hooked on Sarpinos lately. I guess we had the barbecue pizza. It wasn't bad. Well, if that's the Sarpinos they're talking about, they sure are moving very slow to get to it.
83, make the response. 8601, 45 Highway, quick trip. Police on scene, psychiatric. 83, truck 63, 8601, Northwest 45 Highway, quick trip. Police on scene, psychiatric. 83.
Now, I'm getting it. Did I go the wrong way in a one-way? I think I did. I'm getting aggravated and frustrated with vagrancy, but again, a lot of it is, this is just my humble opinion. We don't invest enough in mental health infrastructure in this country, and we wonder why we got people that have to deal with problems caused by, again, like that call, mental health. Nobody slumped in that. It's not an SUV, that's a pick-em-up truck. So it's not this Sarpinos. Unless there's somebody in this Honda Element, which could be construed to be an SUV. Or they call them SUV. Be careful coming out through here. Alright. Maybe I should call and hey, I don't know if there's anything they can do about it. I'm just bothering them when I'm calling and asking them to try and call a million people in the middle of the night.
Service 212.
I could check out all the Sarpinos locations. How many of them can there be? Alright. Sarpino's Pizzeria. See locations. If I were to guess, it would be, it's on the Missouri side, so that eliminates Kansas. There's 3 Sarpinos I could check out. And I would guess it's either Lee Scammett or meth dependence.
Go ahead from the station. 263. 263, go ahead.
Does it feel like there's something rolling under my foot?
Copy, Campbell, Lincoln. Visual.
2213. Illinois, Boy Frank, 88831.
What, pray tell, is that?
Zebra Frank 3, Union 2, Zebra 2.
It looks Looks like something I don't want to lose. Ooh. Turn off my headlights.
Police on that not perform at 4. Respond EMS call B. Wilshire at Lakewood, 600 Northeast Meadowview Drive. Be on a pass out, 213.
Ah.
Looks like it's still current 12.
It is just somebody who's passed out. Probably from
Disregard.
drinking.
Copy, I'll be safe.
213.
I always park behind this Cadillac and figure out who. I'm just curious enough. Mm.
826-599,
I probably should go over there. That's a better spot.
I'm just checking with you. Are you still working on charges, or is it just going to be stealing, or the felony stealing for both? Yeah, we're still working on charges. No worries.
Okay. Let's figure out where that guy is going. Go in the opposite direction.
On a white Tahoe, canvas plate 59, David X-ray 0, 759, David X-ray 0, occupants unknown.
So I figured out that that Sarpino thing was nothing, and I also figured out where it is.
On Missouri dealer tag.
personnel and give EMS to their equipment.
Everything in here except a couple of places are closed now.
Chevy Tahoe, one John Pagel, person 22.
Joe's back in service, we're back in district.
217.
Oh, but abnormal breathing. 215. Police on I cross A3, 892911, David Plaza, station police on unknown, or I cross A3.
Eye problem. I had an eye problem on Saturday. I got all real itchy and irritated and turned red, really red. People couldn't even stand to look at me. Like, ew, your eye. I'm like, yeah, ew, my eye. And it doesn't feel very good either. Followed by that night starting to feel really, really crummy and yucky and wanting to do nothing but go to bed. And followed by 2 more days of that, except that the irritated eye part went away really quickly. So, I mean, it's still a little watery and irritated, but it's not red like it was. Oh, Westport. Nothing going on here. Nothing to see here.
542 Park Avenue on a 6, A3.
Now that I'm live streaming, I gotta be careful because I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here sleeping, especially if I start snoring. Because if you hear any snoring noises, that's not me.
6 Paul Lincoln, X-ray 2.
I do not sleep on the job.
It's on an Apple product.
Even though I probably should. I wish I could get my phone to work, my work phone to work on FaceSpace. Mail, let's see what's in the mail. Nothing. Let's see what's on the pulse point. What am I missing? Dang. Why?
31, 19. 2-2 in Prospect on a house fire. Tag 5.
That's why I missed that, because it hasn't been called yet. Pulse Point gets it. That is so amazing. Pulse Point gets it before I do.
12000 Lamar Avenue, apartment 340 at Oakdale Overland Park.
Oh.
Starting
Alright.
route to Prospect Avenue and East 22nd Street. Head northwest on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Let's go to our most probably abandoned house fire.
My emergency button. We'll go ahead and reset it right now.
Come on, vagrants.
Medical 1142 clear.
Stop setting these house fires.
Get it reset.
Don't you know it's windy? You might actually cause
Negative.
people. I say that. Watch, this will be like an occupied dwelling.
At the light, turn left onto Broadway Boulevard.
Turn left on Broadway Boulevard. You know, I say that about my eye, and then I notice my eye is starting to feel irritated again.
I think so. Copy.
In 1 mile, turn right onto West Linwood Boulevard.
Strange set of symptoms I've had with this thing. With an irritated eye, and I noticed earlier in the week I had a backache, a mystery backache, and irritated eye. I don't know if these are related symptoms. Followed by feverishness, maybe I've come up with a new disease. Patient 0. Two and a half story. Did they say fire showing? I don't know. This time I wasn't yakking. This time it was like everything went off at once, and I heard fire.
Pumper 19, 111 East 50 Street on a headache, 8-4.
On a headache. That has to be a really bad headache calling an ambulance. But then I have a relative who calls an ambulance if she farts. Oh my God, I got gas. Call the ambulance. I think I'm exaggerating. She calls an ambulance for depression. And she's depressed all the time. They finally got sick of her and started sending her to a mental health facility. So she stopped calling an ambulance because she didn't want to go to Nevada, which is where they send everybody.
They were doing 221. Cards. That's my dispatch.
At the next light, turn right.
Copy, notifying Energy of downline.
Down lines. To be honest with you, I would really like to have some wind-related something to shoot
At the
tonight.
light, turn right onto West Linwood Boulevard.
Well, I can't say why. I'm not wishing bad on anybody. I just...
In 2 miles, turn left onto Prospect Avenue.
31 Spring Valley Road, breathing problem at 4, 42, pump 42. 110, 31 Spring Valley Road, breathing problem at 4.
breathing problem. Fine. Well, let's hope that whatever I have doesn't manifest into a breathing problem, because there's nothing worse than not being able to catch your breath. Because you know what? Suffocation sucks. And it makes you really claustrophobic. And the claustrophobia does not go away. I had... At the end of the year 2001, I had... Was it 2001, 2002? I had strep throat. and I could not get to sleep because when I tried to sleep, my throat would close, and I jerked back awake because of my body's response to suffocating. And so finally I figured out that I had to sleep sitting up, but it was still rough and I couldn't get to sleep. And that's the worst thing, is like when you are sick, you need your sleep. Well, when your sickness prevents you from getting to sleep, then you get really, it's like a catch-22. But the thing that I noticed was that suffocating feeling that I was very conscious of led to a severe case of claustrophobia. Like the inability to sleep and the inability to breathe is sheer torture. And I can only imagine what beerfluenza patients are going through. Whether or not they survive it, I bet you if you talk to a lot of them, they say, oh, I have severe trauma from that. Like, I can't go into a small room. I can't have the heat turned up too high because then I feel like I can't breathe. I can hardly stand to even get into a car. That when I had strep throat and I got into a car and the windows were rolled up, I started feeling like, oh my God, middle of winter, I got to roll the windows down, because I was feeling like, oh my God, I can't breathe, I can't do this. And I talked to my mom about that. She said she had strep throat. She had the same exact experience, that afterward, that feeling of not being able to breathe made it to where she felt like she couldn't even.
In 1 mile, turn left onto Prospect Avenue.
Appears to be vacant. Do I care about this?
Too small on a 2.5-story wood frame structure. Appears to be vacant.
Do I really care about this? Well, I guess if it spreads, I better go, because it might do what I said and spread to occupied houses on either side. Because, you know, most probably, as the case with most of these, it's caused by a vagrant. Exclusionary zone, what does that mean? On the Charlie side.
Holiday Inn, 227.
Excuse me. Who's called me yet? Can you go check out this? Because my favorite thing to say to them is, I'm already there. Or what's better is when I call them and send a text with pictures and the video I'm sending through WeTransfer, and they're like, we didn't hear that. Wow, we didn't even know that was happening.
At the light, turn left onto Prospect Avenue.
I'm starting to warm up to this Apple navigation. It's gotten so much better, and it's actually got a very easy interface. You know, like, I mean, I don't really need it so much. Sometimes it's kind of handy, but it'll say, go past this light and turn left at the next light. And I'm like, that is something that, those are the kind of directions that people can understand. My wife likes it too. She's like, you know, it's really handy.
Prospect Avenue and East 22nd Street.
Looks like I can see some smoke in the air up ahead.
I see at least 2 driving.
You have not been to a fire unless your clothes smell like smoke. Or if you get sprayed by a hose. I've had that happen.
In 1 mile, arrive at Prospect Avenue and East 22nd Street.
Last name Evan, Edward Victor, Alan Morrison, first Jason,
minute and swapping out the building.
Alright, well, when I get to this fire, unfortunately I'm going to end the stream because I need to use this phone to take pictures with. My other phone only has the one camera and it's sort of... And I tell you, the cheapest version of the iPhone is really cheap.
East Courtney Atherton Road on injury accident.
Ruh-roh. Boy, you know, you can go all night. Courtney Atherton Road is way the hell out there.
East Courtney Atherton Road on injury accident. Received a call from Sugar Creek advising an injury accident with possible burn injury.
Oh boy. Oop, there's our fire. I can see it from here. Up there on the second floor.
Consumer transfer will go ahead and take it. Okay, there's one right there. Going to
Well, like, what kind of live stream are you? You really suck because you just when things get exciting, you got to turn off your live stream. I'm sorry. If I had another iPhone 12 with the 3 cameras, I would keep live streaming with this one. I'm going to park right here. Or am I? Is there a better place I can park? Is there a parking lot over there? Come on, car. Is that a parking lot? I don't know. I can't park. I don't want to park too close to the fire trucks. I learned my lesson on that one. They get mad at you when you do that for good reason.
I'll get one.
Right here. Alrighty then. Well, thanks for watching. I got to go do my job.